everybody, welcome back to Merged Family YouTube channel. One of the questions that we're going to be talking with Amanda about today, she wants to know when I first loved her and each of her biological sisters, and would I ever be able to love them as much as I love my own biological daughter. And then I get the chance to ask Amanda if we fought hard enough for her when she lived in Arizona and all the other girls lived out in California. And she has a very, very interesting answer that I think you're all going to enjoy.
Okay. So my last question for you. So we know what was the point in which it was the lowest of the lows. What to date was the moment in which you felt like, oh yeah, no, I have a relationship with all of these girls. Not only do I have a relationship, but I can love them. Not necessarily as my blood, maybe. I don't know. But I love these girls. And I can do this. I can be a successful stepmom.
That is such a good question because I think in society, when you become a stepmom, first of all, you have the evil title or the wicked title. You're the wicked stepmom. Okay, that's a bunch of crap. Thanks, Disney, for that. But you don't, most of the times, you don't love your stepchild. And then, so you're thinking on the inside as a new stepmom, society says I'm supposed to love them. I love my husband. I don't really know these kids that well, and I knew you more than what most stepmoms know their kids. And so I felt like really conflicted because I didn't love you the way that I loved Jordan. I loved you, but not the way that I love the kid that I gave birth to. And you have a kid, so you understand what that's like. So I don't know. I think we were in a group or somebody said something, and I said to your dad later that night, I'm like, I don't know how to tell you this. I don't love your kids the way that I love my kid. Like, it doesn't mean I don't love them, but I think I need some time to grow and really get to know them as little humans and all that stuff. Because I wasn't there at your birth with you. So I would say you were probably the first one that I really loved. And I think it was your age.
Okay.
And I also think it was because you were funny and you were a pleaser, which is not a healthy thing necessarily to be.
Sure.
But you were just so funny and lovable, and you never gave grief. You just always went with the flow. You were that kid that was like, hey, yeah, we're going to the beach. Great. Let me get my bathing suit. Oh, we're going camping. Great. Let me get my sleeping bag. And you just didn't care what we did. We could literally drive in a car for 2 hours, and as long as we had one of those, what are those boards we had in the car?
Like the magnet doodle?
Yeah, if we had those in the car or some kind of toy, you guys would just all make up games, and it would be great, fun, and wonderful. I think when Stephanie moved in, and Stephanie and I are only 12 and a half years apart, since your dad and I are 8 years apart. So I wouldn't say that we were peers. I almost felt, and I didn't feel like a babysitter with her. She's too old to have a babysitter. It was more like this slow growing friendship. And then that when she moved in with us, that friendship moved more into she's part of my family. And she never rebelled in high school. Like, her rebellion came in college. And there was a big disagreement that we had, and neither of us can really remember what it was about. But I think it was at her wedding that it was kind of like, okay, I love this kid. And then with Jessica, it's like I loved Jessica for her spirit, but it was always directed towards me. So it was, I don't want to say it was love hate because I didn't hate her. It was just this tension back and forth. But with Jessica, I think it was after she had Allie, and she got to call a family meeting with Dad and I. And during that time, she's like, hey, I want you to know if anything happens to Mike and I, you will still get to be in all my kids' lives. And I was like, oh, okay, I've made it to the pinnacle of stepmotherhood. And then when Mike had to go, when he deployed for a year, and she and the two girls lived with us for a year, that really gave us a time to bond as mothers because I was parenting Jordan, she was parenting two little girls, and Allie went to the same elementary school that Jordan went to and had the same kindergarten teacher. So there's a lot. So I think it was at different phases for each of you, and you know, there's different kinds of love. Um, you have the phileo love, like Philadelphia, brotherly love. That's how you should love everybody in humanity. And then there's a storge love, that protective love. Is I want to protect you, and I think that's how it started with you, and then eventually moved up to agape love. But it was all different times in different situations because you're all different people, different women, and I have a different relationship with all of you. And I remember there were times watching you, the three of you together, when Jordan was way little, but you know, once you guys all got into your 20s and 30s, it was like, I want to be a part of that clique. Like that, and there is a bond that the three of you have.
Yeah.
And it's because what you went through and because you're blood related and you've lived through some things. And I just remember that's an amazing clique. I didn't realize siblings could be like that. Because I have a brother and I don't have a relationship with him like that. And then I'm like, I so want that for Jordan. And I realized that that's kind of a mourning piece. Like she's behind you. She's not married. She hasn't had a kid. I feel like once she gets there, then another part of the relationship with the four of you. But I think the three of you just have such a special relationship that no one can penetrate, and which is good. And you need to have that because you all went through that experience together.
Well, and I think it's interesting that you bring that up because it's something that we've actually, the three of us, have talked about before. And it's, and I think it goes, it's not so much that we are all related by blood that brings us together so tightly, but it's because of the experience that we went through, the separation of our parents, not once, but twice, because they separated twice. And then finally the divorce and moving back and forth between households and having split holidays, and then ultimately the move across states. Like, I think that's what really tied us together more so than we're related by blood. And I think that it's a different experience, and it's not something that we can necessarily just tell stories to Jordan and like, this is what it felt like.
Yeah, she won't get it.
But because it's so ingrained within us. It shaped who we are as adults, as wives, as moms. And I think that once she does have, when she gets married and she has kids in 20 years, Jordan, that if you've learned anything from me, it's time. But when she has it, then that's a whole other level of something that we can bond. On with her, that type of event that we can bond with her.
So you brought something up that I knew this in my head, but it just dawned on me that your parents did separate twice. Once they reconciled, the second time there was a divorce. That's almost like being, and I don't want to undermine anybody that's been in live combat before, but it's almost like that you've been through something emotional and traumatic, psychologically, physically, emotionally, all of that, and that you're bonded that way, not just because of blood, but it's almost like being in the trenches together. And you know, I think Jordan has her own thing that you guys can't understand, being, I don't want to say abandoned by her biological father, but I don't know that there's another word. And then and then being adopted, and so she understands adoption
in a way that we never will.
Right. So, and you guys have, you know, what you went through with your parents separating twice. Yeah. So my final question is, and nobody knows what this question is except for me.
Okay.
Because I only shared the first two with you. I didn't tell you, and I didn't know any of the questions that Mandy was asking me, by the way. But I gave her a heads up on the first two questions. Did you ever feel like we needed to fight for you more to bring you to California? Because I feel like you were the one that was left in Arizona And I know I wanted to, I'm like, let's just go to court. Let's just go to court and fight for her. But you were old enough to make your own decision and you kind of knew what you wanted to do. So did we fight enough, hard enough for you? And you can say no.
I don't see thinking back, and because there was a point in time right before I started high school that I had gone to Dad. I think I was there over the summer, and I had gone to Dad and said, I want to move in. I want to move back. And I don't know that I was fully committed to the idea. Obviously, I wasn't, because I didn't. But I never really felt that you didn't fight for me. I truly, I didn't. Because in all honesty, I probably would have rebelled against it. Because I again, the loyalty piece, I felt the need to stay. Because at that point, I was the only sibling that Travis had here. And it was, Mike had moved back to California to work, and so it was now it was almost like I was living in 3 households, because I would go to California and I'd have you guys, I'd have the household here when Mike wasn't here, and then the household when Mike was here. And I knew that Travis needed somebody on his side to be here. And so, quite honestly, I don't know. I probably would have ultimately rebelled against you guys. And so, no, I don't think. I think that you guys did exactly what you needed to do. And Dad had made it clear from the beginning, like, he wanted us to stay together. And Jordan had Stephanie and Jessica. Travis needed me.
Yeah, I can see that. So, do you think he understands what you did? Do you think he will when he's older? I think you did a lot. I think at the age that you were as a teenager, to stand up and realize this kid needs me,
What are you, Oprah? I'm not a crier.
that is, but that's huge, Mandy, because you sacrificed your own happiness.
But at the time, I didn't see it as sacrificing my happiness. I didn't see it as sacrificing.
Was it protection?
I think so, yeah. But I also had, like, at the time, I had it pretty good.
Yeah,
here,
you did.
Right? I had it pretty good. And so it was also selfishness at the same time. I mean, I was
had your
14.
car.
Yeah, I
you're
had
your
my
car.
car.
Yep.
I didn't have to have a job, because I was very focused on school and playing sports. And so it was made very clear to me by Mike that that is your job. It is your job to be a kid.
Yep.
And to get good grades in advanced classes and to get scholarships. And so that was the focus. And I had it very easy. And I wanted for nothing from either family, right? I had all the love in the world that you guys could possibly provide me, and I had additional perks out here.
Additional perks. Which
with
included a
vacations.
pool, a Unimog, a Jeep.
Yes.
Yeah, jet skis.
And a boat.
Yep.
And we went on great vacations.
We had a 3-bedroom condo that was like 1,300 square feet and 50 years old. Okay, go on.
And I lived on 2.5 acres. Like, it was a lot different. And so while I would love to puff myself up and say that I only stayed for Travis, that was definitely part of it. But also because I had a cushioned life.
Yeah.
And where it led me, while I made mistakes, it led me to this beautiful life that I have now. And so, to loop it around back to your original question, because I feel like I got off topic a little bit. No, I never felt like you guys didn't fight hard enough for me, that you could have fought harder. That wasn't really anything that ever passed through my mind.
Because if you wanted us to fight for you and we didn't, then we need to make amends. But it sounds like we don't need to, because, and I know you and your dad had that discussion, and you were old enough at 14. It's not like you were some
flighty airhead at 14. Like you're a smart kid. You knew what you wanted, like what you said. I have a 3B question to ask. So now you're married, and you married Josh, who was an only child, and I know you love your in-laws because they're pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And you have our number 6 grandkid Walker, who's amazing and so cute. So what does Josh and his parents think about the ultimate craziness of your family?
Just that. It's
Because
crazy.
they're still married,
Yes.
And-
Nuclear family.
right?
Mhm.
And then there's us. We come to the house and
Well, not only that is it's my mom's side too. Like we're all very close, and so he comes from. While he has a bigger family in there from back east, so everybody's family.
right.
And so he did, but he lives out here, and so he was never all the time surrounded.
Right.
Whereas I think now he feels all the time surrounded by family because we always have family coming and going,
Yeah.
whether it's from our house or we're going out to California or we're going to wherever somebody lives closest. I think that in the beginning it was just an overload for him. It was like culture shock.
I can imagine.
Because whether it's our side of the dad's side of the family who is loud, or my mom's side of the family who we are larger in number and so just as equally loud.
When you have a lot of cousins that you're connected to on that side that
Yeah.
are your age and they're mostly women.
Yes.
Poor Nolan.
Yeah.
They're mostly women
Nolan.
over there.
Yeah. So I think at first it was definitely a culture shock, and he wanted to be a little bit more secluded, and but now it's something that we rely on, that we love, and we look forward to those times. Like he'll go do things with family members without even me being there. Like he'll go on vacation if he can with them, and so I think it's just become his new normal. As far as Jim and JD, my in-laws.
Okay, so you all live together.
Yes, we all live together. So, and my mother-in-law is incredibly outgoing, and so this just works very well for her. My father-in-law is a little bit. I mean, he's still very outgoing, but I think for him it's still a little bit of an overload.
We're a lot.
We are a lot.
Just your dad and I and our downline. We're a lot.
Yeah. But I think for them it's very fun to be welcomed into the family because Jadine's everybody's grandma.
Yes.
I mean, Miss J, she has gone and watched Jessica's kids up in Vegas. She has, she's whatever you need her to be.
Yeah.
And so I think that not only having our blended, merged family, but now we've then merged with my
when you bring
husband.
in-laws into it, it's like it takes it to a different level.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
For sure. Now, okay, this just came to me, but all right. So Jessica got married first to Mike. I'm pretty sure Mike was overwhelmed for the first 6 years because he really didn't speak. Then Stephanie married Dustin. He did okay, but his parents are still married, and so they don't really do divorce in their families. So we were probably a lot for him, but I'll ask Stephanie when we sit down together. And then you married Josh, and then you just explain that. What words of advice do you have to whoever Jordan's going to marry?
Be flexible.
Good.
Because flexible. I think that's been the hardest for Josh because he never had to split holidays or anything like that. And with his family, it's wonderful because they'll do the holiday on whatever day you can all get together. For them, it doesn't matter. It's not the date. It's the
gathering
and the gathering itself. So that's been wonderful, and I think that I am truly blessed in that sense because if I want to go to California for Christmas and Josh can't be there, it's not like he's fundamentally missing anything
because you're going to do it when you get back.
Yeah, we do Christmas when we come back, and same with my in-laws. Is they're not like, oh well, they get Walker for Christmas.
Right.
It's we get Walker for Christmas.
Yeah,
It's just
everybody
Christmas
gets
is going to
Walker for
happen
Christmas.
on the
It's just-
29th.
yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter. So for whoever Jordan marries, welcome to the family. And you're not, I cannot stress this enough. You are marrying all of us. And
It's your story.
yeah, and just be prepared for all of us because we all have opinions, and we're going to share them.
Mm-hmm.
Our husbands, so your future brother-in-laws, are not going to make it easy
Oh no.
on you, nor should they,
No.
because even though Josh doesn't have this really tight relationship with Jordan, because we also haven't gotten a chance to spend a
Right.
whole lot of time with her.
It's just that family,
He is still protective,
like the Godfather.
Yes.
Welcome to the family.
and he doesn't mind sharing his viewpoints and how he feels about people, which
Mhm.
I love that about him, and not in a bad way. But they're also going to give you a hard time, so be ready. But flexibility is the biggest thing, especially if this individual comes from a nuclear family.
Mm-hmm.
I think being able to go with the flow and, okay, this is our rotation, if you will, and being willing to adapt to that, because I know that can be hard, and I'm sure that Stephanie's husband can speak more to that.
Well, I think really Jesse's husband, Mike, probably had the easiest time because he comes from a merged family as well. So he understands that holidays don't always fall on the calendar date that they're supposed to.
And he's military.
And plus he's military, so he could be deployed during, Christmas, birthdays, Thanksgiving, all that stuff.
Mhm.
So yeah, I agree. Flexibility is just huge in any merged family.
Yeah.
So if you're already merged or you're thinking about merging your families together, flexibility is key, because if you're not able to bend, chances are you're going to break, and you don't want to break. And if at any time prior to marrying somebody with kids, or if you have kids marrying somebody, you want to make sure that you're absolutely in it for the long haul, because you may not have any clue as to what's coming. However, I think Stephanie, Jessica, Amanda, and Jordan really are the blessings for putting up with the hard times of adjustment. Because really what it comes down to is they all have individual and unique personalities. When I come in, I have a unique personality. I have a viewpoint in the way that I see things. And if I think that my way is right and they do things differently, then that's saying that your way is wrong.
Mhm.
But that's not fair. They could both be right ways. They're just different ways. And it's a dance to figure out how you best make it work when they're little, so you can have a really good relationship when they're older, and you can be at their wedding, and you can love on your grandkids, and you can have a good relationship and be able to sit and talk openly and enjoy vacation days together. So, hey, thanks so much for watching. Make sure you give us a thumbs up down below. Make sure that you subscribe and that you hit that bell so you can get notifications. Thanks so much for tuning in, and remember, every step family has a story to tell. What will yours say?
Huh? Your camera lens is closed. Oh, I wonder at what point it did that.
Your dad's got it on.
Technical difficulties.
Okay, go ahead. Done. Cut! I have no idea when this
Are you
stopped.
dying, Dad?
Sweating like
You're
crazy.
dying.